Hey everyone, today is Monday, May the 8th, 2023. Welcome to another video from investingsuccess.ca. I want to thank you for your patience as I took some time away from my writing and blogging and publishing. I was pretty burned out. I needed a break and I certainly had a good one. But I'm back and recharged, rejuvenated, and ready to go. In this brief installment, I want to talk about banking. While I was on holidays, we had another banking headline. This one was California-based First Republic. I had thought the regional banking thing had pretty much run its course, but apparently not. Bear in mind that when you go to a bank, maybe you deposit your paycheck, maybe you have some money that you want to set aside for the future, and you open a savings account. That banker doesn't actually physically keep your money. He will use your money to buy things like T-bills, treasury notes, longer dated bonds. He will use your money to create home mortgages, commercial property loans, automobile loans. He will keep enough money on hand so that if you show up at the bank looking to make a withdrawal of some spending money to get you through the weekend, he's got that much at least on hand, but certainly the bulk of it is lent out, and he's earning a return on those lending products. He's paying you just a sliver of what he's earning in terms of your interest on your so-called bank deposit. Now, all of this is fine and wonderful. We've seen interest rates very stable since the 2008 financial crisis, and certainly very stable through the COVID pandemic. And you got to bear in mind that every banker operates on a balance sheet. The assets on his balance sheet are the loans, mortgages, etc., that he has generated. The liabilities on his balance sheet are the deposits, the bond, T-bill, treasury note investments that he's made. And like any balance sheet, assets have to equal liabilities. Now, what has upset the apple cart is none other than central banker Jerome Powell. Mr. Powell, in my opinion, is trying to save his reputation. He's trying to save his legacy. He reacted very poorly when Donald Trump from the White House pressured him. In Mr. Trump's mind, it was all about the markets. He wanted to see the markets go up. Jerome Powell buckled to that pressure, and he kept interest rates lower for longer. He probably, and well, we know he should not have done that, but he did. And then during the COVID crisis, flooded the financial system with money, and that has now boomeranged, and it's come right back full circle to bite him in the ass in terms of sticky, persistent, high inflation. So to preserve his legacy, to make the history books talk about him in a favorable light, he is determined he is going to wrestle that inflation boogeyman to the ground. And it's like he is blind to what's happening with the regional banks. And in fact, the government, Janet Yellen at the Treasury Department, is on side with Mr. Powell, and she has said the government is not going to bail anybody out. And so I expect Mr. Powell is certainly going to leave interest rates where they currently are, 5 to 5.25 Fed funds rate. He might even decide to nudge them a little bit higher. He, like I say, is not going to risk his reputation. He wants to be seen as the guy that, well, yes, created this mess, but also fixed it. Now, here's the problem. In this day and age, money moves quickly. You can literally pick up your smartphone and you can pay your bills online. You can also move money out of your smaller regional bank. And why would you do that? Well, what's happening is people are getting afraid. they hear of a particular bank failing, maybe Silicon Valley Bank, maybe Signature Bank in New York. They hear of these little regional banks in trouble. They panic. They move to a larger bank. And you cannot prevent that. It is going to happen. And it just happens easy. Normally, in the old days, prior to all of this technology, you would physically have to go into a branch. You would have to be face to face with a teller. The teller will probably try to talk you down out of your tree. She might even bring out the branch manager. He might sit down with you, try to talk you down. None of that applies anymore. You literally pick up your smartphone. You can move money out of a bank in a nanosecond. And when you start to do that, the poor banker, take a look at this guy here on the right side of this slide, man, he's got a headache. Suddenly his balance sheet is turned upside down, inside out. He's got deposit money leaving, but it can't all leave because he's lent it out. So how does he try to raise money in a hurry to appease the shareholders or the bank holders that want to go? Well, he can sell some of his assets, his T-bills, his treasury notes, his long-dated bonds. Oh, but there's a problem. Jerome Powell has raised interest rates. The value of those investments on the balance sheet have gone down. And if he sells them, he's triggering capital losses, and he doesn't have enough money to satisfy all of the depositors that want to walk out the door. What does he do? He looks for help. The government has said they aren't going to help. His only other option is to talk to some of the big boys on the playing field. JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, Bank of America, and there's a handful of other big guys. Did you know that these big boys control, as of the end of 2022, they control 47% of all of the bank deposits in the United States of America, and now they are waking up to find regional banks groveling, looking for help. JP Morgan recently picked up the loan portfolio for First Republic Bank. Give it a year. These guys will control 50, 55, maybe 60% of the deposits in the United States of America. The big are getting bigger. The regional banks are going to fail. Is this all part of somebody's grand plan, somebody's grand design in Washington? Maybe. We'll never know, but know this. The big guys are about to get a hell of a lot bigger. And that means they're going to make more money, and that means their share prices are potentially going to go up. And that is what you want to take advantage of. How do you do that? Roundhill Investments. These guys have initiated over the past number of years a number of ETF type structures. They trade on New York. The most recent one that they created is it's called the Big Bank ETF, and the ticker symbol in New York is BIGB. It's kind of an appropriate symbol. And in that ETF, they have got significant holdings of some of the biggest banks in the United States. Now, the ETF itself launched at a very interesting time, March 21st, 2023. Sun was at 0 degrees of Aries. What was March 21st? Spring equinox, first day of spring. I find that to be curiously interesting for a first trade date. And so if I look at the distribution of the planets in this horoscope wheel, the ascendant is at 27 of Taurus. The midheaven is at 5 degrees of Aquarius, and Pluto is very, very close to that. And then we've got this collection of 4 planets. We've got Neptune, Moon, Sun, Mercury, and they are all very tightly distributed right around that 0 degrees of Aries point. And so if you've been watching my various videos on YouTube, you'll know that what I look at is the action of the moon. And I'm taking that from what I've learned and read in Louise McWhirter's 1937 book about how she used the moon to forecast price movements on the New York Stock Exchange. So what I'm looking at in the course of a 29-day lunar cycle, I'm looking to see what happens when Moon passes by 27 of Taurus, 5 of Aquarius, and that 0 of Aries mark. Does the price react? Does it get more volatile intraday? Does it make a swing high? Does it make a swing low? Does it give me a chance to either get in on this ETF or maybe sell it and wait for the next pullback and another opportunity to get in? So using the Moon. Now, here's the stock chart thus far. March 21st was not that long ago, so there's only a limited number of price bars on the chart. But I want to point out to you one thing. Already, we've seen the astrology start to work. There's a swing high that was made here, looks like around the 17th of April. What caused that swing high? Well, here it is. Moon was passing that 0 degree of Aries point on the natal horoscope. So it gives me great comfort to know that the astrology right out of the gate is already working. And we can see that since that swing high, the price actually went down. It has recovered a little bit. What I'm looking at next is the 10th of May, which is coming up here in a couple days. The Moon will be passing the natal midheaven point on that natal first trade horoscope for the ETF. We'll see what kind of a reaction I get. The only moving average I've been able to put on here thus far is the 18-day. As I get more price bars, I'll be able to put different moving averages on here. But I think what I'm going to do on this one is I am potentially going to play with maybe 200 shares. And if I can capture, $2 moves, which is not unreasonable, on 200 shares, yeah, if you can do that once a week, that's some extra little money. But more importantly, there's a trend that's in place now. The government is not going to make whole bail out the regional banks. The government has made it clear that the big boys have to step up, and I'm sure that the big boys right now at JP Morgan, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, I am certain that they are salivating, just hungry at the thought of acquiring these loan portfolios from these little guys that couldn't make it. The big are going to get bigger. They're going to get fatter. The little guys are going to perish. The ETF, BIGB, will allow you to take advantage of it all. And so to wrap up, don't forget to visit me at investingsuccess.ca. I've got a number of letters available for subscription. Don't forget I got the Financial Astrology Almanac. It's out there for 2023. It's available on Amazon. It's available in ebook format. Before I went on holidays, I launched another course on Udemy. This one is titled As Above, So Below. And it basically explores the notion that the planets in our cosmos are distributed in their distance from the sun in a very curious manner. They're distributed in such a way that it actually aligns to the Fibonacci sequence. And in this Udemy course, I talk about how we can use Fibonacci math when we interpret price charts. And why can we do that? Well, if the planets in our cosmos are distributed according to the Fibonacci sequence, yeah, it kind of makes sense that what happens down here in the realm of a price chart, price movements, should also unfold according to Fibonacci. Also, before I left, I unveiled my most recent book, Follow the Trend. It is basically a handy desktop reference that everybody should have close to them. There's any number of moving average types that you can apply to a chart. There's all kinds of technical chart indicators. Are they all good? No, they're not. I've explored a lot of them, and in this book I highlight the ones that are good, that do work, and I also include a lot of Fibonacci mathematics in here. And so if you are trading, and the way I do it is I use a technical chart, oscillator, trend indicator in conjunction with astrology, in conjunction with the Fibonacci mathematics, and I look for all three to be working in my favor. Then and only then do I make a buying decision or a selling decision. All right, that's enough for me today. So big banks, ETF, BIGB, take a look at it, add it to your watch list. And just remember, the big guys are going to get bigger and fatter, and you can take advantage of it all through the ETF. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.